Okay, ZBA, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines will remain off. Go for it.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals work session for November 14th, 2023. We'll start off with a couple of administrative applications. I'll read the first one into the record, and it's for Dune LLC at 180 Marine Boulevard, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 176-4-10. And it's to demolish and replace an existing 512 square foot swimming pool in place and kind, 2,515 square foot of decking, and front entrance overhang in place to construct a privacy wall under the pool area, roof deck with staircases and barbecue, outdoor shower, to replace and reconfigure windows, to relocate a chimney, and up to 600 square foot of temporary clearing for construction access on a property containing beach vegetation and within 150 foot of wetlands. And we have Morgan here this evening. Morgan, you want to take us through it?
Yep, good evening, board. So this property is on the corner of Marine Boulevard and Dune Lane in Beach Hampton. The wetlands are on the adjacent property to the east, and the application proposes improvements, including reorienting windows around the house, roof deck with stairs, outdoor shower in the pool area, and to replace the swimming pool and associated decking in place and kind. Some other minor improvements include that privacy door on the pool deck. The total coverage is not changing since all the improvements are within the existing footprint of the house.
It's hard to hear. It's hard to understand. I don't know why. I mean, you're on the mic, but there's something funky going on.
There's an annoying echo in this room.
Yeah.
But basically, all the improvements are within the existing footprint of the house. The pool and deck are being replaced in place in kind. The applicant says that they don't think that they'll need to do any temporary clearing, but the vegetation on the property is actually, it's extensive, it's successional dune land, and we had recommended they request up to 600 square feet of temporary clearing, just, it's in a highly visible area in Beach Hampton. Better to have it and not use it than vice versa. We would implement project limiting fencing as a condition of permit, and any temporary clearing would be revegetated with native dune land species if that ends up needing to be done. Any questions?
Yeah, what was the first two sentences? Jeez, I couldn't understand them.
The first, just basically the improvements include the roof deck. It does say on the survey that there's a proposed second story. That's inaccurate. I checked with the architect and there is an existing second story that's legally existing. It's basically just a roof deck. The survey is just a misprint on that part. And then there's a staircase leading up to the roof deck. There's gonna be a little barbecue area. Again, everything is within the existing footprint of the residence.
I was just gonna ask that, okay.
So the coverage isn't increasing at all. And there's no proposed clearing, although we did, emphasize that they may want to include the temporary clearing for construction access.
Anybody have any questions?
You reviewed this today?
I did review this with them. I don't have a problem with it. Again, there's no coverage increase.
Right.
It's mostly in place in kind.
A privacy wall under the pool area. Oh, you have an updated agenda. I don't have it on my agenda.
I believe the privacy wall is kind of just gonna be like a storage underneath the deck situation. Like it's just gonna be kind of like a closet underneath for storage. Again, it's still within the existing footprint.
I don't have a problem with this.
No, I don't have a problem. No, I'm going to be all right with it.
I'm good with it.
Thank you. Joan?
Yeah, hang on, I'm passing paper. In the matter of 4 Dune LLC at 180 Marine Boulevard, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-176-04-10, I make a motion to permit this matter to go administratively.
I'll second it.
I concur. I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you.
There is a weird echo.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you already have? Thank you.
Next, we have Dimitrolakos at 37 Sanger Place in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-31-5-2, and it's to replace in place and kind 1,026 square feet of first-story decking within 150 feet of wetlands.
Okay, so this is in Ditch Plains. The wetlands that this property are within jurisdiction of are located to the west over here, and they're on some adjacent properties. Basically, replace the existing wood deck in place and kind. It's about, I think it was 1,300 square feet. Oh, sorry, just 1,000 square feet. And then they are also proposing to remove these existing structures that were built without permits.
They're removing those existing structures?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is a bonus, right? Kind of a thing. They're
Otherwise, they would have
So
required
the
variance.
1,026 feet of decking is the same size it is now?
Correct. It's just the first story. So they do have this wood roof deck, but that is not being proposed to be replaced.
Okay, 37 Sanger, huh? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, I'll do. So I'll make a motion for Demetra Kolakos at 37 Sanger Place, Montauk, tax map 300-031-05-2, to allow this application to be processed administratively.
Second. Concur.
Concur?
Concur, thank you. We'll now move into our post-hearing decisions. First application is Whalen, Matthew, and Lindsay at 32 Tyler Road, Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-68-12-5. The size and location is 8,902 square feet at 32 Tyler Road, Mirror, holding section 3, map number 1319 in Montauk. The description is to construct a 421 square foot terrace, a 64 square foot spa, a 64 square foot shed, 195 linear feet of timber retaining walls, and 346 linear feet of fencing on a parcel of within 100 foot of freshwater wetlands. Relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420, and 10 variances are required. Variances of 12 feet, 26 feet, 16 feet, and 70 feet are from 255-430 wetland setbacks are required to allow a terrace 88 feet, a shed 74 feet, retaining walls 84 feet, and fences 30 feet at their closest from wetlands where 100 foot is required. Variances of 6 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet, and 10 feet from 255-1110 dimensional setbacks are required to allow the construction of a shed 4 feet from the northern side yard lot line, where 10 foot is required, a spa 10 foot from the eastern side yard lot line, 10 foot from the southern side yard lot line, a terrace 10 foot from the eastern side yard lot line, and 10 foot from the southern side yard lot line, where 20 foot is required. A variance of 4.8 feet from 255-1172D pyramid regulations is required to allow the construction of a shed with pyramid setbacks of the northern lot line and any other relief necessary from East Hampton town code. Ed, this is yours.
This is mine, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The hearing for Whalen was on August 22nd, 2023. The survey we were working from at that time was from January 28th, 2021. Matthew Whalen represented himself and presented his case to the board. This property is located on Tyler Lane off of Old Montauk Highway. The property was purchased in 2021. The last CO was issued in 2021. A residence was constructed on the site in 1979. In 2004, an NRSP was issued for the demolition of the existing house and the construction of the 2,696 square foot residence that sits there today. At the hearing, the location of the proposed 8x8 storage shed and the location of the proposed spa were discussed. Opposition was voiced concerning the shed by the most effective neighbor, who was immediately to the north. Concern was also voiced about the location of the spa, and the suggestion was made that it might be relocated to a more conforming location. Subsequently, we received amended plans on August 9th, 2023, that relocated the shed, eliminated the spa, and reduced the size of the proposed bluestone patio. A re-veg plan was also submitted on September 9th, 2023, that included areas to the south and the east and northeast where a perimeter fence is now proposed to be located an additional 12 feet further from the wetlands. 2 walls are proposed, one a 5-foot retaining wall near the south and west property lines to match an existing wall to the north and west, and a second timber wall that follows a portion of the south and east property lines and will vary in height between 18 and 24 inches as it follows the slope of the land. we received an updated survey on October 3rd, 2023, that detailed these changes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
October
I'm being
2nd.
corrected.
October 2nd, right.
On October 2nd, not 3rd, 2023. Thank you. So this is one where we had some discussions, and the client, the applicant representing himself, we had some opposition from a neighbor because the shed in its original location was going to be juxtaposed so directly to the property line that it was going to require both side yard setback variance and pyramid variance. And there was an opposition immediately there from that neighbor directly to the north. And in consideration, when they came back to us, this landscape design from Barry Block showed that they could move that and relocate it in the new survey to the southwest, that is, southwest corner. And by moving it to there, they would eliminate the problem with their neighbors to the north and the property that they had, the property situation they had there. Our other big concern, there were concerns around the property, but our big concern was about the spa. And at the hearing, we had wondered why the need for a variance at all here, since it could be pulled back closer to the house. Subsequently, they did eliminate the spa, as I read into the record here. They eliminated the spa. They reduced the size of the patio slightly and drew it back, eliminating the need for a couple of variances there. I think that the applicant came into this perhaps not as aware as he might have been about just what his limitations were here. And I think that the reaction that we got back in these, both the submission of the 9th of September and then on the, I guess I just read it in whenever it was, the 20-something,
October 2nd.
October 2nd.
yeah, October 2nd, thank you. Both show a reaction to the board's reaction and to the TAM. I think that what we see here for me is a clear reaction that's in a positive way. I don't have a problem with this one now. I think that the spa, was no reason for a spa to be put out that far out into the room, that they eliminated it completely out into the land backyard. I think they eliminated it completely is fine. It helps us there. And pulling back the patio helps as well, because obviously we're eliminating variances there. I do have some questions about the walls and whether or not they are appropriate. Interestingly, I didn't think that the planners had much problem with them. They are there for retention, and there is that problem that was highlighted in the photos I showed in the southwest corner, where there is a bit of a runoff potential where it comes down, and they want to maintain that same slope. There's quite a step down from Tyler down to the front door of the house. So in short, I don't have a real problem with this now. I looked it over. I think we did get these submissions. I think there was quite a bit back and forth. There's a plan. I did mention, but there is an effort to re-veg that north, now what is that? That's that northeast corner that was completely cleared and goes off at a strange angle. They're also going to bring that fence back there, which we asked about. They're going to revegetate a little bit along the south here. There's a margin there that they were able to find some area for re-veg. So I think the idea of coming through with the re-veg on this, there was a comment from them that early on, there was some talk of an IA system going in, and with these changes here and with the expense that was going to be involved, they're going to stay with the standard, the sanitary system they have that was approved in the 2004 C of O. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm ready to approve this. To go to the variance standards, just a second, please, I'm sorry. Yeah, under 255-4-12, or alternative reasonable uses of the property available, and I think that they did come up with some alternative uses here when they looked it over. The theory of design, alternative design, I think that they did make an effort to come up with a different design after our first encounter with the application. Whether the grant will, under 255-8-50, whether the grant of the variance will cause an undesirable change of the character of the neighborhood, I don't believe it will. Whether the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance, I think that right now what he's proposed is acceptable to me. and whether the difficulty causing the applicant to request an area variance was self-created. All actions are somewhat self-created here. I think what they came in looking for and what they were willing to accommodate from the board's request show reasonable effort on their part to come up with a compatible project. So I'm willing to approve this application at this time.
Thank you. Rick?
Okay, I agree with everything that member Johan, Vice Chair Johan said. This started out as a project with needing an NRSP and 10 variances, which is a lot. And it was a highly constrained property, and the terrain of it was very difficult also. I do applaud the applicant. I thought it was Barry Block, though, that did the presentation. He was the designated agent.
Yes, he was
the
here.
one,
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the document received from Barry Block on October 2nd, with all the changes, the plans have been changed. And I'd like to go through the variances. They started out with 10 variances required. Afterwards, I am left with an 8-foot variance for a terrace, the terrace 92 feet away from the wetlands. 10-foot shed, the shed that was proposed originally in the northern portion, now proposed in the southwest. 10-foot from the front yard. And the perimeter fence that they angled differently and moved farther out of the wetlands where the revegetation of 750 feet will be done is now 42 feet from the wetlands where it had been 30 feet originally on the original proposal. The terrace, as Member Johan mentioned, was reduced from 422 feet to 333, or 332.5. I think that's quite a bit. They eliminated 6 variances. The one thing I still have a concern about is the bluestone terrace. Right now, it doesn't require any setbacks from the sidelines with the side yards, with the elimination of the spa. I'm just a little concerned that it's there. And in the future, I don't know, would this ever preclude an IA system from being put in on the property? Because now this property is pretty stock full of things. And, but I think I am also going to approve the terrace and the project as a whole. I do think they've improved the environmental conditions on the property with the revegetation, some of which I believe was already where some had been cleared illegally. But they, so they're doing that 750 feet. And I don't think I have any concerns about the perimeter, not the perimeter fencing, but some of the other locations of the fences that Vice Chair Johan mentioned earlier, the bamboo barrier. They just modified that slightly. But I think overall, they did a huge improvement on this project, and I am going to approve it.
Thank you.
Okay. I was not at this public hearing, August 22nd, but I did review all the documents that were submitted, and I'm not going to lie, here's my denial. Until I saw the October 2nd, 2023 letter submitted by Barry Block. And he really appeared to just address every concern I had. I think the applicant has gone to great strides to be in better compliance with the code. The terrace is now reduced from 422 to 333 square feet. Fences have been relocated. He's relocated the shed. He's eliminated the spa completely. So I do feel, without being repetitive, that your question though about the sanitary system, they did bring up in their letter, and it exists as, it has been previously approved by the Suffolk County Health Department and none of the proposed accessory structures previously impact the sanitary system or the quantity of effluent produced. And this is in their letter of October 2nd. So they seem to have already, it would be a financial hardship since they had just already installed a new one a few years ago.
And if I can shed some light on
Sure.
it too, it's like even if in 2004, the conventional septic systems, if they were to upgrade it, it basically could be done within the same footprint of the 2000. So the new systems would be able to fit in
You
there.
think, that was
And
my
even mostly-
concern. I mean,
and
they could
mostly
always
even use the
take out
existing
that
leaching
patio if
pools.
necessary, right?
They can even use the existing leaching pools, it's just that front pump tank that
Okay.
they would basically have to do. So it would be fine.
So for the reasons already stated, I'm in full agreement with my fellow board members, and I would approve this application. I do believe it meets the standards outlined in the town code.
Thank you.
I'm not going to repeat what everyone has said, but based on the October 2nd submissions, I'm prepared to approve this application.
Thank you. I mimic the board's, this was for me, a denial to begin with, and what they came back with was, it was pleasing to see. Definitely changed my mind as well. So we'll approve it as well. Thank you.
I have a question for council. You have the October 2nd document, but there is something, they didn't state all the new variances for everything. Do you have that list
Right.
before that is still in
Yeah,
place?
we'll watch the hearing again before we prepare the determination.
Yeah, it's a little confusing if you don't,
Yeah.
start.
Yeah,
with
we're
the
gonna-
hearing.
we're gonna
I mean,
start-
They eliminated.
We're going to start
5 or
requesting that
6
every time. If they do
variances.
come back to us, you got to list what they are.
Well,
Make it easier.
I believe we did ask for it, so.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too. All right, so next we have Quigley, Teresa, 1082 Fireplace Road in Springs, tax map number 300-39-14-10. The size and location is 48,473 square foot total at 1082 Fireplace Road in Springs. The description is to construct a 360 square foot roof deck, 175.5 square foot covered porch, hot tub, a driveway expansion on a parcel of land containing tidal wetlands and surface waters. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 and variances from 255-430 minimum wetland setbacks of the town code. Variances of 64 feet, 71 feet, and 68.7 feet are required to construct the roof deck, covered porch, and hot tub 36 feet, 29 feet, and 31.3 feet from wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required for structures. The zoning district is A5 residence, AE flood zone, elevation 10, the secret class is type 2. And this is a number of Savree's.
Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of to cover here. Let me begin by, okay, originally, the public hearing was scheduled for August 22nd. It was postponed and rescheduled for September 19th. Rick Whalen appeared on behalf of the applicant, and the record was left open for 4 weeks. There was a lot of discrepancy and mistakes, actually, on the original survey. So one of the things we left the record open for was a new survey that would give us the proper location of the hot tub, wetland setbacks to the hot tub, a re-veg plan, and obviously a revised survey. So the survey we're referencing now, for the purposes of our determination, is September 26th, 2023. All right, now, there were no callers. The record, I believe, was left open for 4 weeks, and on October 10th, Rick Whalen submitted a letter giving us revised surveys prepared by Walbridge dated September 26, 2023, and 9 copies of a revegetation plan. He also noted that the Revegetation, please refer to September 18, 2019 memo from Natural Resources, which attests to the fact that the applicant has already completed 1,036 square feet of voluntary revegetation since the purchase in 2020. The memo states that 16,131 square feet of pre-existing clearing is allowed on the property, and the above survey not only documents that current clearing is at 15,095, but that with the proposed additional 954 square feet of voluntary revegetation, the property will be at 14,141 square feet of clearing, which is 1,990 square feet under the permitted maximum. A revegetation plan was submitted. I also want to correct a discrepancy. Our technical analysis memo and our public hearing notice reference a roof deck the size of 360 square feet, which is actually incorrect. Also, at the meeting, at the public hearing, Rick Whalen noted that there was a problem with the size of the deck and noted that it was 288 square feet. But if you look at the building plans submitted, dated received October 26, 2022, page A2 references the existing roof deck and notes that the new proposed deck is 10 by 22 roof deck on a new flat roof. So this is actually 220 square feet of roof deck that we would be approving tonight. Now, that being said, this would obviously reduce the variance requests that were originally for the roof deck, it was 64 feet. I didn't calculate where we would be now. We did ask for those to be forwarded to us, but correct me if I'm wrong, I just haven't seen them. But that would obviously reduce the,
There was an October
Was there-
16th memo. Should I pass it to you?
what is that? I'm sorry,
With 16?
It's bullet 3.
let me see that. I don't know if I saw that. Thank you.
16.
All right. Oh, this is a different application, Joe.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so in terms of,
Never mind.
so I just want to make sure that if we do our determination, and it is an approval, that we reference a 220 square foot roof deck and not a 360 square foot roof deck. All right, whatever. There were no callers. The roof deck is within the footprint of the existing residence, and it does not increase GFA. So I don't have a problem with the roof deck. I think it meets the standards for approval. The screened-in porch is going to be over a concrete slab that actually already is there, and it doesn't increase lot coverage. The hot tub, which is small, 5 feet by 7, is proposed to be on the roof deck within the footprint of the building and does not increase lot coverage. The one part of this application I'm having a problem with, and don't think it meets the natural resource special standards, is the driveway. The existing driveway is an average distance of 20 feet from the salt marsh to the north and within 10 feet of the wetlands near the attached studio. And even the most benign previous driveway materials increase surface runoff. And in an HPOD district, I feel this is problematic and fails to meet the NRSP standards. So I would be willing to approve this application in its entirety other than the driveway, because I just don't feel that the driveway meets the criteria set forth in the natural resource special permit standards. But everything else, for the reasons I've just stated, I will approve.
Thank you. Terry?
Also, if I could add one thing, Terry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I referenced a set of building plans, Council, but there are actually a full set of building plans dated received August 26, 2022, that reference the elevations, and just want to make sure, and it's
She's
prepared
referring to
by,
these.
who is it prepared by? Trying to find her name. Thomas D. Riley. And they are all dated received August 26, 2022. Thank you, Carrie, that's all I have to say.
Okay.
This is the August 26th.
Okay. All right. Well, yes, there's, I agree, there was a lot of confusion at the meeting, at the hearing originally. And we did get the updated survey dated September 26, 2023, which I believe the roof deck, the variances were originally 64 for the roof deck. With the new survey, it looks on the survey that it's noted that I guess it's the roof deck itself. It looks like it's 50.3 feet from the wetlands. And so that would be a 47 point.
A reduction from 60.
Reduction from the 64 feet. The covered porch is 71 feet, and I believe that did not change. And the hot tub also, the hot tub is 53.5 feet from the wetlands, so that makes the setback, the setback is 53.5, so that makes it 47, the variance 47.5? Is it right there?
46.5.
Or 46.5? 46.5. The variance for the hot tub with the new survey. I agree with Member Severis on some of this. The portion of it where with the roof deck being above the extension of the house next to the garage and the hot tub being on top of the roof deck, those are already, utilized areas, and I do agree that they're not going to create any harm, I believe, to the wetlands and to the harbor. The one thing I have a problem with is the screened-in porch. Even though it's over an existing concrete slab today, I think there are alternatives, and I think Brian Frank brought up at the meeting that there are alternatives to that location that could be better suited and would reduce the variance required for it. So I am denying the screen porch in this location on this project. As far as the driveway, I'm going to approve the driveway. I think part of the revegetation that was added with the re-veg plan that they submitted on October 10th also was regarding the driveway or mitigation in the area of the driveway also, down on the southern portion and the eastern portion of the property. And I believe aren't they offering an IA system?
Yeah.
It's a voluntary IA system
voluntary
that
IA
they're
system being
offering also. So overall, I am approving everything on this project. The IA system is going to be considerably farther away from the wetlands than the existing septic today. So I am going to approve everything except for the screened-in porch in this application.
Joe?
I agree with everything Member Severis said with respect to the roof deck and the screened-in porch. I feel like the concrete patio is already there and disrupted. And I feel that the IA system, between the IA system and the revegetation, it's a significant amount of mitigation. The driveway, I went back and forth on, they say they need a turnaround, and we've approved larger driveways with turnarounds, which concerns me in terms of a precedent, their stated reason for needing it. So I'm inclined to approve the driveway based on the other mitigating factors, but also because they say they need it for a turnaround and for emergencies and so forth.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to agree largely with my fellow board members. I think that the deck, roof deck over an existing part of the house and the reconfiguration and shape thereof, and of course, you've now highlighted the changes in the square area that were misstated originally, but now we understand more clearly. I think that's fine. I'm going to go with the idea that concrete at the back and putting a screened-in porch over it is not, to me, a major change environmentally. I think that whatever water is being shunted off and being shed out into the environment is going to come from a roof now instead of the concrete, but it's basically an exchange one for another. And I don't feel that that's something that I'm willing to deny at this time. I thought, as everyone else did, that the driveway was our biggest question. I think the driveway comes in. It was cited in the TAM, just how close it is to wetlands and to the property line. The one plus for it, I think that was mentioned by Member McGivern, that it was stated that it was an inconvenient driveway that lacked the ability for emergency services to come and go if they were needed. There are probably a lot of driveways that lack the ability for emergency services to come and go in this town, but because they're looking at it as a fresh start here on this particular construction that they're hoping you encounter, I thought that the plus for me was that they'd not get any closer to the wetlands. I realize it's an NRSP, and we're worried about anything we do creating more ability to shunt water, to send water off into the surrounding ground. However, given the size of it, where it's located, and the fact that I do think there probably is a good necessity for it there, I can see trying to get a fire truck in and out, trying to get an ambulance in and out could be pretty difficult. And that was highlighted, I think, by the testimony of Rick Whalen saying that his experience coming up and down the driveway was one that was fairly congested. I think it was a toss-up, though. I think it was something that you have to consider carefully, and I think that the concerns of the planning board have to be taken seriously on this particular thing. I thought that the IA system, which was voluntary, I think Rick made the point when asked, would it require additional fill? And he said it wouldn't, so that it would not change the configuration, the topography there in any significant way. That was a positive. And then let me see if there's something else I just wanted to say about what this was. By and large, I think that we have these lots come in front of us, that's why we're here at ZBA, that have a problem with either wetlands or shorefront. And we have parcels like this where there's almost no conforming location for almost any activity. This is one of those. And so I think it's reasonable request. I think that there was some thought, and the revegetation, that's what I was going to say. I think that we did question whether or not there was any place for revegetation. There was some hesitancy at the hearing, but they did come back to us with a plan for some additional revegetation. So agreeing with Member McGivern here, the combination of the not required but voluntary IA system and the revegetation helps compensate for the driveway, which I thought was the biggest concern. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to approve the application in its entirety.
Okay, thank you. I agree with, I mean, I have no problem with the screen porch. Again, the roof deck and the hot tub, I agree with my board members. The issue does come down to the driveway. I'm almost in the camp of Member Savarese on the driveway. I think that, I'm not sure if it's a code issue to have a turnaround, but there seems to be adequate driveway coming in and turnaround for access to parking over by the house. So I'm not sure of the necessity of the driveway. I think I'm in that same camp as saying that it's probably not, this is a piece of property that is not only flagged by wetlands, but it's on Acrobonic Harbor. This is a very sensitive area, Acrobonic Harbor. So I think the more we can do to mitigate further development on this. But this application does meet the natural resources special standards, but I would agree that the driveway is not necessary. Counsel, you got that? I have 2 no's on the driveway.
Yep.
I have 1 no on the porch,
Got it.
right?
Right. 71 for variance. The septic plan that I have here is dated June 6, 2022. Is that the correct one? The only one I saw.
Let's see. Oh, wait. What is this?
Septic plan is,
Yeah, that's it. Received August 31st. Yeah, that's the one I have,
Okay.
2022. Okay.
TF Engineering.
Yeah.
okay. We next have Liam Griff at 35 Hoppin Avenue in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-31-2-4, and the size and location is 7,320 square feet at 35 Hoppin Avenue, Oceanside at Montauk, lot 223, map number 2730 in Montauk. The description is to construct 498 square foot of additions and dormers, a 170 square foot covered porch, 6 square feet window well, reconstruct and expand the existing rear deck, a 100 square foot shed, 160 square foot patio and fire pit, clear approximately 284 square foot, and construct a new IA sanitary system on a parcel of land within jurisdiction and setbacks of freshwater wetlands, within rear yard lot line setbacks and outside of the town's pyramid regulations. The relief sought is the natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 6 variances are required for this application. 1 variance of 2 feet from 255-430 of the Town Code is required to construct the proposed patio at fire pit 98 feet from freshwater wetlands where a 100-foot setback is required. 1 variance of 1 foot is required from 255-1110 of the Town Code to construct a proposed patio 9 feet from the rear yard lot line where a 10-foot setback is required. 1 variance of 1.2 feet is required from 255-1110 of the Town Code to construct the proposed decking 8.4 feet from the western side yard lot line where a 9.6 setback is required. Variances of 2 feet, 6.47 feet, and 8.65 feet from 255-1172D of the Town Code are required to construct the addition 2 feet along the eastern property line, and 2 dormers 6.47 feet and 8.65 feet outside of the town's pyramid. Regulations along the western property line and any other relief necessary. Zoning district is B residence, AE flood zone, elevation 11, and the secret class is type 2. And this was Ed, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The hearing for Griff was held on September 19th, 2023. The survey was dated from September 18th, 2023, and was by James Walsh. The representation of the application was by Shannon McCaffrey. At the hearing, the applicant's representative stated that they were willing to move the fire pit patio and decking to eliminate 3 variances immediately. This house is located in the Ditch Plain subdivision of Montauk in a densely populated neighborhood where the majority of the house lots are similarly sized and are as narrow as 60 feet as is the parcel in question. This application includes a proposal to install an IAOWTS sanitary system. Find that the 2-foot pyramid variance at the southeast corner of the structure will have little or no adverse effect on the neighborhood. It's a continuation of an existing line. However, it does extend a nonconformity. I'm not bothered by that, however. The dormers on the west side of the structure were of our greatest concern to the board, and because the stated need for the northwest dormer, which requires a 6.47-foot pyramid variance, was to rebuild an existing set of stairs, the applicant agreed to engage the East Hampton Town Building Inspector to judge whether the gradient of the existing interior staircase was built to code. Subsequently received a letter on October 19, 2023 from Shannon McCaffrey of Dooney's Planning that described the outcome of the building inspector's visit. East Hampton Town Chief Building Inspector James Palermo found that while the existing stairs are steep, they are conforming to the International Residential Code of 2020. The existing stairs feature an 8¼ inch rise and a 10½ inch tread, which is an awkward combination dimensionally. The legal code at this point would allow 8¼ inch rise with a minimum 9-inch tread, which makes the griff staircase technically legal. The southwest dormer requires an 8.65 pyramid variance in order to construct a walk-in closet. The applicant stated that these dormers will not have an adverse effect on the neighborhood and that the pressing needs of the Griff family make both of these dormers immediately necessary. I don't agree for the need for a walk-in closet to allow for an 8.65 pyramid variance, but I think a case can be made for approving the 6.47 pyramid variance at the northwest corner. I had a career in residential construction. I personally either built or installed and ordered over 100 sets of stairs, and I would never approve a set of stairs that had a dimension that the Griff staircase include now. I think that I agree with the applicant that the existing set of stairs, while technically legal, are not safe for family use. The combination of the two numbers really don't work well and especially with an 8¼ inch drop. For that reason, while I cannot agree to approve the southwest dormer over the walk-in closet, I find that the special circumstances that exist around this staircase do encourage me to improve the northwest dormer. This project has a couple of aspects of what we're talking about relative to this dormer. For one, we are very hesitant to approve pyramid variances unless we find this is an outstanding reason to allow that. In this case, I understand that that's legal, and I think that's perfect justification for us to deny the dormer. I also think that under these circumstances, it sounds to me that staircase is really not suitable inside this house. Maybe that's beyond our purview, but it's the perspective that I've taken on this because I think that it's reasonable to expect that there's a natural desire for the applicant to see if something else gets done. So I'm willing to approve this application, except for the southwest dormer. I think that the elimination of the other variances that were requested had to do with the fire pit and the outside, took care of most of that. I know that we've all considered that the most important thing here is how we treat the pyramid variance. I've already stated what I think about that. And then if we go through the standards here, 255-8-50, whether the grant of the variance will cause an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood. The question was raised that if we start adding dormers like this in a small confined area where these lots are so tight, are we going to start changing the configuration of houses in a way that everyone will come in wanting to know, why can't I get a dormer that pierces through and requires a pyramid variance? Whether the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue. I don't know that I can say that that's true either. It puts me on very shaky ground with approving this pyramid variance. Whether the requested area variance is substantial, I don't think that actually it is. Whether the grant of the variance will have an adverse effect and impact on the physical environmental conditions, no. Whether the difficulty caused the applicant to request an area variance was self-created, which consideration was self-created, I'll stop there. And I think that while it was self-created, I think there's some justification for the request on the one dormer. And under 255-1-51, whether or not we can issue an NRSP, preservation of natural resources, alternative reasonable uses, alternative designs, I think that I haven't got a problem with that relative to the NRSP. I think on all three of those, I can agree that they've done the best that they could. The applicant must demonstrate also general standards 255-5-40, compatibility with the neighborhood, environmental protection. The compatibility with the neighborhood is one of the aesthetic over whether or not adding this dormer so close to the property line changes the compatibility. I don't think, looking at the elevation, that I'm so bothered by it that I cannot, that I can use that to not approve the dormer. So although I was torn by this, I made the decision for the reasons that I say. So I'm willing to approve this, all except for the dormer to the southwest, which is the one that's placed over the walk-in closet.
Thank you. Ted?
And which variance was that? The southwest?
That was
The
the one for
8.65.
8.65 feet.
8.6?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a different perspective on this one. And we did get the building inspector's decision, from Shannon McCaffrey on October 19th. And the stairs are conforming. This is Hampton Avenue, this is ditch plains. The properties are all very small and constrained and non-conforming many times to width as this one is. However, going to these, looking at the dormers, looking at the 3 pyramid variances, these are significant as stated in the TAM. The 8.65 outside of it is a very significant variance, could impact the development of other neighboring properties in the Ditch Plains area of town. The 6.4 pyramid northern is a 6.47 pyramid variance, both significantly outside of pyramid requirements on a roof line that's pre-existing. And even the 2-foot variance, which sounds like a lot less, is still extending the nonconformity of an already non-conforming area 14 feet further south on the property. So I think all these variances are extreme. And one thing, the night of the hearing, I remember that the GIS that Tyler showed up with the neighborhood and the properties and the lots, and you could see all of them are tightly packed up against each other. And I think this would create a detriment to the neighborhood and to the neighbors. And I am going to deny this application.
Jerry? Or Denise?
I too I read the letter dated October 19th regarding the opinion of the building inspector, and a lot of what I had writing on this decision was whether or not the stairs were conforming to the code. Had they not been, I don't think I would have made the determination I'm about to make. I think the north and southern dormers are very significant variances outside of the pyramid requirement. And they're on a roof line pre-existing to pyramid regulations, I understand that, but the 2-foot pyramid variance along the eastern side of the residence, if approved, you would be increasing the nonconformity 14 feet further south. So now granted, some of the existing roof lines are in violation of the pyramid, but they're pre-existing, and if approved, you are increasing the expansion of that nonconformity. And I do think that is a dangerous precedent. My big concern is also the character of the neighborhood. The properties are all very small, and a lot of them are non-conforming. There are alternatives, and the variances are self-created. The property was purchased, I believe, 5 years ago. So I do not feel that this application meets the standards for grant of these variances, and I am denying the application.
Thank you. Joe?
Well, I'll start with the littlest pyramid variance. Based on the October 19th letter, it emphasized that it was in the rear, and that the proposed overhang was already over a hardened area, and the roof runoff would now be directed to dry wells. I also, I would defer to Ed and Roy on the issue of the staircase and the northwest dormer. I am going to deny the southwest dormer because, for the reasons stated, Ditch Plains it has narrow lots, and we don't want to set a precedent. but I do think for safety reasons, and you should be able to live in a house with usable staircases. And also remembering they're offering an IA system in a very sensitive area. So for those reasons, I'm granting the littlest pyramid variance and the northwest dormer variance and denying the southwest dormer variance.
Repeat that again, you're granting the 2-foot?
The 2-foot and the staircase, subject to your input.
Similar to, so that's similar to.
Basically, and they're offering a new IA system, which I think is a significant mitigating factor.
I got a question, maybe Ed, right? On the two dormers, if you're approving one, you're denying the other, you're going to throw out the symmetry, what looks like we're trying
thinking that
to
too.
set some symmetry in that, right?
Yeah.
I also don't understand why they're two different, unless it has to do with the.
I didn't understand why they were different.
Right, they look similar, why are they so different?
In height?
Yeah, in their variance. Doesn't matter, I mean, to this point, but they are significantly different from having this two same doors. There is, the property lines are 4 inches different.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're different.
We can take a look at that again, but one is
I
like,
mean, if you look at the,
Is this one?
if you look at the elevation, the west elevation, they're both identical.
Yeah.
It's weird.
this one is a little higher.
Okay.
Must work out. But I'm agreeing that they don't aesthetically look very different.
Maybe it's the way the property is situated. The house is
You
situated
know what?
on the
That-
property?
Joan, you hit the nail. I think it has to do with natural grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. I'm
So,
torn. I'm
oh, I
torn,
was going to
guys.
say, did you decide? Okay.
I'm not a fan of pyramid variances. I agree with my board members on pyramids. I also do agree with the vice chair about the stairs. I think they are, even though technically legal, they are steep. Is that enough nexus to prove a variance? And I'm torn about that.
When you're offering an IA as mitigation,
And what?
when you're offering a new IA system?
Yeah, but it's just some, for me,
Yeah,
it was more mitigation for an
yeah.
environmental condition.
Yeah, yeah, true.
That's not a reason to grant
Period variances.
for pyramid.
Did they draw enough nexus to seek that? Is it, well, let me go through this. I'm just going to go through this again. It's, this one threw me for a loop here. And it comes down to the first one. Does the benefit of the applicant grant the area variance outweigh the detriment to the grant of the variance will cause the general health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or the town as a whole? I think my viewpoint is that pyramid variances do, and is there a nexus for this if we have, that's the reason why I asked that question in the beginning.
I don't see the nexus.
Yeah, I went through those too and had a similar conversation with myself.
I mean, similar to Denise, if it had come back that the stairs were not conforming, that would be
Right.
different.
Yeah, for me, that would have been completely different.
I don't think it rises to it from a precedent standpoint. I do agree that if it was not code, there would be no question for me. I just don't think that's a nexus for approving it. I think I'm gonna vote to deny it as well.
What about the little 2-foot one?
I think I was okay with that. Where you, where were you? You denied the whole
It's
thing?
extending it like 14, 15
feet
feet.
for-
It's
it's like
increasing the
increasing the
nonconformity, right?
nonconformity.
It is. I don't know
Yeah.
why they
It's
can't.
over a
I
hardened
don't know why they
area and they're
can't-
adding dry wells? And
still
it's
a
in the
permit
back of the
variance,
house?
Is it- Yeah.
The TAM, planners were clear on the TAM that it was large variance, increasing the nonconformity.
I was okay with the one in the rear of the house.
In
This is ditch plains, all these houses.
in being in the industry, I understand, and I'm sensitive to the fact that almost 100% of the projects we built are conform to a building envelope as this house originally was.
Right.
And it was intentional to design it this way, and I think to design it outside that envelope is problematic from a precedent standpoint. I just can't make that leap. So I think I would deny the whole thing. Okay, got it, counsel?
Can we just go over what
What's that?
can we just go over what you're voting to deny the entire application?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a denial, basically. Yeah.
Next, we have Nevins Bennett LLC at 289 East Lake Drive in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-13-1-6 and 26. The size and location 76,623 square feet at 289 East Lake Drive, Montauk. The description is to construct an extension to an existing fixed dock consisting of a 4-foot by 18.5-foot fixed dock extension, a 3x12 aluminum ramp, a 6x20 floating dock, and associated pilings. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 in the zoning district. Is A residence VE flood zone elevation 11 and X flood zone. The secret class is unlisted. This was.
Nevins Bennett, the hearing was on September 26th of 2023. The survey was from George Walbridge and was dated May 16th, 2022. The applicant was represented by Tyler Sturm. The house is situated on the west side of East Lake Drive in Montauk. At the hearing, the applicant's proposal to widen an existing dock was discussed with particular attention being paid to whether the proposed changes would require the removal and replacement of the existing dock piling, thereby having an environmental impact on the adjacent bottomland and the lake's tidal waters. We received a letter and an associated document dated October 3rd, 2023 from Mr. Sturm of B. Lang Associates that attempted to react to the concerns of the board. On the second page of that document, he addresses one of our primary concerns. The applicant now proposes that the existing pilings be cut down to allow the new wider platform to pass over them, which would no longer require the removal and reinstallation of new piling. This proposal, while satisfying one of our primary concerns, still leaves the board with the concern of allowing a 6-foot wide dock where the town of East Hampton restricts similar docks to being 5-foot width. I think that while Brian Frank asserted that other dock owners will look to widen their own small docks if this NRSP is approved, I found that the effort made by the applicant here was one that will cause the least amount of associated environmental damage while accommodating the applicant's stated desire concerning the dock. I think that this was one that very simply was a question, as one we've just finished, is we have a town-wide standard, and if we allow a change to that standard, what are we doing? What door are we opening? Are we opening a door that other dock owners will come and say, well, if he can have it, we all want a 6-foot wide dock, where the town has tried to keep that from being a case in any one of these circumstances. I think that for me on this, there aren't that many docks along there, and we don't want them all to be coming in asking for that. And there may be some other circumstances we're not sure of that will start to be affected by a decision like this. But I do like to think that what we decide as we move forward is on a house-by-house and a job-by-job basis, and I'm not sure exactly what precedent we'd set here if we were to approve this. What I did like about the application and the effort made was that they came back with a way that they could create what they were looking for without changing structurally the basis of the dock, and certainly no new penetrations into the bottomland, and therefore much less disturbance. So very similarly to the last one here, while I understand the complaint of the 6-foot wide dock, I think there was reasonable effort made here by both the client and his representative to listen to what was being said, to go back and to come back with us with an alternative that showed that they were going to do basically the least amount of environmental damage that can happen. There certainly should be some building protocols. In the end, are we willing to approve something that's 6 foot wide where the town discourages it and wants to keep it at 5? And what are we doing town-wide if we make that approval? I'm very anxious to hear from my fellow board members, but I'm leaning towards approving this application.
You're what?
I'm going to approve the application.
Terry?
Okay. All right, I too was impressed after the initial hearing, and I'm not that much into docks and the construction, but the points brought out at the hearing were quite valid. I think Taylor Stern did an excellent presentation, and I do agree. We received an update from him, from B. Lang Associates, on dated October 10th, October 3rd, that we received on October 10th, and also included more of a project layout and clarified a lot of the discussion that happened at the hearing. I am in agreement with Vice Chair Johan. I think there was a lot of discussion. My concern, I guess, there was a lot of discussion about whether there was additional dockage or docking that ever existed on this property. And I don't know that that's ever going to be found out one way or another, that there was or there wasn't. I agree that the document that was sent to us on the 10th, discussed that now no pilings will be moved, removed, or installed to achieve the proposed action. The cross sections, they requested, took the measurements, minimum construction was put forward, and that the use of heavy machinery would not be used. Heavy machinery would not be used, and the work will be done by hand. They've agreed to that, and they've agreed to leave the pier, the dock, the same length as it is today. So I too am thinking that I'm going to approve the 6-foot width in this case. As stated before by Member Johan, there were not many docks on Lake Montauk. I am going to approve this application with the 6-foot, provided all the other things remain as it is discussed in the October 10th letter and the documentation sent in with that. And I'm wondering, though, if we could get them to covenant that this will never come forward again with trying to increase the dock.
Well, that's still an NRSP no matter what. But
Yeah, but I think the project sounds good, and I think it will not harm, the latest update on how they're going to implement this project will not harm the natural resources.
Just one point, that the letter was received October 10th, but it's dated October 3rd.
Yeah, didn't I say that?
You said a 10th, I'm just saying.
Well, I
It's a
said,
letter of-
yeah, I said receive the 10th. Yeah.
Denise?
I know, let me just get my notes are everywhere. Let me just get myself in order. Okay. The certificate of occupancies that were issued on this property between 73 and 82, and this is why I've made the decision I've made, do not list a dock as an improvement on this property. The first reference of a dock is on a CO dated 2003, which has no measurements, nothing to add to the history of the dock and how it got there. Other improvements were constructed on the property pursuant to a 1971 building permit, but did not include a dock. Now, the purposes of zoning board is to ensure equitable administration of the town's zoning code. In 1984, an NRSP and a building permit would have been required, but it never happened. So who knows, had it gone under proper review, if it would have ever even been permitted. We really never had that opportunity. I did a lot of research today on docks. There has been, so my point is, so we have to start, when you start to deliberate on what to actually do, for me, it starts with the CO that was issued in 2003, because that's really the first piece of documentation we have as to, we don't know how it got there, why it got there, but it is there.
It showed a 38-foot long dock, right?
There has been a degradation of the water in this area, and docks do interfere with water circulation. Looking at it, it does appear to be a minor change to the dock, but this is not a strong enough basis for me to approve the widening of the dock, because it also has to meet NRSP standards, and the dock width in the code is 5 feet. Now, I did some research that I'd like to have on the record. In 255-551H2, it notes before approving a dock, which never really came before this board to do, the Board of Appeals shall consider, will it impair navigation? Will it cause degradation of surface water quality? Will it result in the destruction of bed of eelgrass or shellfish? Will it restrict tidal flow and water circulation? Will it interfere with public use of waterways? There are more. I could go on. The special permit standards also require an evaluation of reasonable alternatives. It should also be noted this property does have an asphalt boat ramp. Another code section, 255-551H2, if the property is not already improved with a lawfully pre-existing dock, this just appeared in 2003 on a C of O, a pre-existing dock, the only type of dock which may be authorized by an NRSP is a floating dock, which shall be construed to mean that the dock meets the following requirement. The horizontal weight-bearing construction on which persons and objects stand shall be no greater than 5 feet. So I'm going to stay with, I do think this could cause a precedent. I mean, in the area, I think 5 feet is safe. I mean, when they use the issue of it not being safe, 5 feet, getting off a vessel onto a 5-foot dock is not what I would consider to be an unsafe situation, and that came up a number of times. I just don't think this met the threshold of meeting the standards for this natural resource special permit, and for those reasons, I am denying this application.
Thank you. Joan?
I was concerned about the precedent as well, but I'm less concerned largely for some of the reasons that are stated in the October 3rd letter. Among them, number 5 on page 3 of the letter, which talked about that the existing condition of this pier is basically a fixed pier to nowhere. The circumstances are unique enough because considering the town code now prevents applications for new fixed piers, we're really only talking about extant fixed piers. And they went to a lot of trouble from an engineering point of view not to disturb the bottomlands, as Member Johan said, and seemed to come up with creative engineering on how to extend it a foot on each side without disrupting the bottomlands. So I'm inclined to approve it, although I am fence-sitting on the prospect of the precedent.
Can I add something? Denise reminded me of when she was reading hers. In the EAF that Brian Frank had done, the mitigation summary, with the approval, part of the mitigation, the applicants have agreed to everything in here except the 5-foot width. But number 6, referencing the asphalt boat ramp, that it should be removed and revegetated with native,
Right.
predominantly woody, tidal, marsh and marsh border species. And so I think that would be part of the approval that I'm giving, that be done.
I concur with that comment.
Okay, me?
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of approving this application, and I'll go through the reasons why. If you look at the EAF that was prepared by the town, the question, will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? I want to read their description. This is a proposed dock is not consistent with the natural resources special permit standards for the issuance of dock enumerated in 255-551 of the town code, or the board's prior determination, which I'm going to underscore because I'm going to bring that up later. The board's prior determination for the property, the initial improvements were constructed pursuant to a 1971 building permit. Certificate of occupancies issued in 1973 and 1982 do not list the dock among the improvements on the property, and first reference to the dock occurs in 2003 C of O. It should be noted that although a natural resources special permit would not have been required until 1984, a building permit, and this is again underscored, a building permit for the dock would have been required in 1971. So references to a legally pre-existing dock larger than 4-foot by 38-foot dock have not been substantiated. A larger dock was entertained by the board as part of a 2013 redevelopment of the property. At the time of that application, the dock on the property had been enlarged from 4 feet by 38 feet structure depicted on the survey that accompanied the 2003 CFO to a roughly 89-foot total length with 10 by 20 fixed platform and 10 by 26 float at the end, and the application sought to reconstruct the enlarged structure. In their determination, File 31313, the board found that the enlarged dock did not meet the NRSP standards and only authorized a reconstruction of a 4-foot by 38-foot fixed dock as shown under 2003 C of O. I say often that we have to give deference to previous zoning board determinations. This is very exactly or similarly application of the 2013 request. The zoning board at that time denied this dock based on the NRSP standards successfully, stating the standards. And I will read in chapter 15 on that determination. With respect to the NRSP requested to reconstruct and expand the currently existing dock, the board notes that docks can have both adverse short-term and chronic impacts from bottomlands and the water quality of harbors. Docks can shade benthic vegetation, alter patterns of sediment and water flow, introduce chemicals, and impact public access and navigation. The use of high-pressure water jets to install dock piling disrupts sediments and increases turbidity in the water column. These disturbed sediments are frequently prone to suspension and poor colonization of submerged aquatic vegetation. The board notes that at the public hearing, the applicant's environmental indicated that the dock would be constructed using pile driving method, hereby lessening risk. But the board still denied it based on an NRSP standard. They did authorize the reconstruction of the existing dock, and I think that's what's critical here. That is the precedent here. I think this application shows nothing different from what was before the board prior. So therefore, I want to reiterate the prior board's determination at this time.
Okay, let me bring this up. This EAF was based on the expansion and the floating dock. Does this require an updated EAF now that they've changed the
The only
project?
thing that
That they're not extending anything?
Yeah, now
now?
I'm like thoroughly confused.
So they have the right to reconstruct it. They have the right
They
to
have in
reconstruct
place
it.
in kind.
And I think in place in kind, and I
Yep.
think that's their right. And
Yes,
I think
I have
it
that
was,
right here.
I think it was tested, and proven in 2013.
I agree, Chairman.
Agree? So then you were approving it as a board.
No, I'm not based on that concern, no.
And that was
Did we get
stopping.
any, we didn't get any feedback after this came
Yeah.
in, did we?
No.
From the planners?
No. But Brian's EAF is pretty thorough,
Well, I see that, but it also says.
in terms of the history, I mean.
Yeah, I get the history.
is
I
what I
understand all
got
the
caught up
history.
in,
I
was
do
the
understand
history
all
of
the
it.
history. It's just that the project in the EAF is extending a fixed dock
Oh, you're saying
extension
it's a
and a
different-
floating dock and associated pilings and all that
Different
has been
project.
removed
Yeah.
from the application now.
It's okay. They have the right to reconstruct it.
They do.
I think that, I don't think conditions have improved, not that I've heard. I haven't heard anything that conditions have improved. If anything, conditions are worsening. There's less eelgrasses and stuff like that today. I think.
Yes.
And so I think I have a pretty strong feeling about it.
And my notes have on it as well that I agree with Chairman Deline that I feel that they have the right to maintain and, I mean, they did prove, it was there as of 2003 in a CO, and they do have the right to maintain it in place and kind. That is their right.
Okay.
Should we pull the
So
board?
should we poll the board again? What?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing that I was concerned about is the precedent, but I was less concerned about it because of the prohibition on docks generally now, but I'm inclined to disprove it because they do have a right to build in kind. I mean, they did go to a lot of trouble to avoid bottomland disruption, but I think Chairman Deline has persuaded me to deny it.
Thank you.
I'll only say that I absolutely respect the perspective that Chairman Deline has put out, and I think he's exactly right that we have to show respect for previous rulings. My decision was made on the fact that I didn't think we were going to be doing additional environmental damage here, and I thought that when they came back to us and said, that we found a way to do this without causing any environmental damage. Some of what was read into the record by Chairman Deline has to do with if we were be putting in additional pilings and any of these docks, since that wasn't happening, I made my decision along those lines. I fully respect the opposite point of view, though, and I am hesitant to be the one who's going to not agree that precedent is more important than the decision I made. But I'll stay with what I said because I did think it through, and I don't like to change my mind once
Great,
I've done it.
thank you.
Thank you.
No?
I still feel like they.
That's okay.
That's
It's
okay.
It's okay.
That's okay.
We're
And I'm
okay.
just wondering
So
if
we're-
the
we're-
EAF should be
We're a 3-2 denial.
readdressed.
3-2 denial.
It's perfectly okay, Terry.
Okay. But
I'm
should
gonna
the
take you out
EAF
back and
have been
beat you.
redone?
These are tough decisions, guys.
They
There's no
are.
doubt about it.
This was a tough one.
Okay, next we have Ann L. Walker at 166 Greenwich Street in Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-19-3-35. The size and location is 14,719 square feet at 166 Greenwich Street, Montauk Beach Development Corp. Subdivision Number 7, central portion of Westlake Residential Section, Block 195, Lot 3, map number 1017 in Montauk. The description is to construct a 1,976 square foot, two-story residence with 380 square foot of patio and steps, a 90 square foot front stoop and stairs, two air conditioning units, underground propane tank, driveway, clearing, and sanitary system within setbacks of jurisdiction of and on a parcel of land containing freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 6 variances are required for this application. 4 variances of 36 feet, 28 feet, 20 feet, and 15 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct the proposed stoop and steps 64 feet, residence 72 feet, propane tank 80 feet, and AC units 85 feet, respectively, from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. 1 variance of 7 foot from 255-430 of the Town Code is required to clear vegetation 43 feet from wetlands where a 50-foot setback is required. 1 variance of 32.4 feet is, 48 feet is required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct a proposed sanitary system 117.52 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot, 50-foot setback is required. Any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, zone X flood zone, secret class is type 2. Who was this?
This was me,
All right.
and I'm trying to find my notes. Okay, hang on. The hearing date was 10/3/23 on this one. And this is at 166 Greenwich Street, is an unimproved lot, the lot size of 14,719 square feet. But we seem to, okay. The agent for this was Lighthouse Land Planning, Joel Halsey. We had a site plan from Jeffrey Sands Architect dated 9/13/22, which we received on 9/22/22. The survey was John Gallagher, land surveyor, dated 5/17/23, received 5/23/23. However, we did receive a subsequent site plan, survey dated updated September 19th, 2023, with the proposing the natural buffer and the driveway, which we received on October 2nd, 2023. It's an unimproved lot with wetlands in the northeast corner of the property. And it required 6 variances and an NRSP. 36 for the stoop and steps, 28 for the residence itself, 72 feet from the wetland. The propane tank and AC units on the northern side of the property. The survey that we received on October 2nd, 2023, it was after the hearing. Or we might have gotten it at the hearing. I think we've actually received it at the hearing. Made some changes to it as a result of the TAM, where it was recommended. The applicant initially thought that the driveway on the south side would need a setback from the property line. So it was, when the working with the planner, Tyler Borsak, he advised them that it did not have to be in the setback, so they moved it closer to the property line, which eliminated a clearing, and there was a 5-foot clearing variance on this.
Yeah, it eliminated the clearing.
Yeah, they eliminated the clearing variance on this, moving the driveway more heavily on the property. They also are offering I lost my latest notes on this one, okay.
New IA system.
The new, the IA system, it's an unimproved property, it's a new house, so
Yeah,
it has to have an IA system. But
You hope.
there were a number of letters from neighbors, Pete Heckman, Laura Hensel, Jennifer O'Sullivan, Paul Tuff, Bob Mauschke, which all expressed and wrote letters against the project as a whole. A lot of them making statements of the runoff that would be caused by the construction of this house and running onto their properties. We left the hearing open in order for the agent, Joe Halsey, to review the letters and submit application references in regard to answer the concerns of all the neighbors, which he did. We received a letter on October 10th, dated October 10th, addressing each concern of the various neighbors that had spoken against the project and correcting some statements that were made incorrectly by some of the neighbors. We also got a letter October 10th, received October 10th from with a sketch that, God, I can't with a sketch showing a proposed increase of the vegetative buffer on the property too, in which, if you look at the survey, that the updated survey that we have, or if you look at the sketch, they have the 50-foot stretch of for the clearing line from the wetlands, and they're adding a buffer, a vegetative buffer, which includes the area where the driveway had been moved from north and running all the way up to the northernmost part of the property line. And as a vegetative buffer so the house itself is really not outrageously large. I believe it's at a 980 footprint, or roughly, approximately, and the second story. And really, the IA system and one patio in the rear of the house, which is the furthest away from the wetlands. I find this, I'm going to approve this project. I think it meets the NRSP standards, and with the additional buffer offered by the residents, I think this is a good application. It's a 3-bedroom house. It is in keeping in size, similar to many of the other houses in this neighborhood. And I'm going to approve it. I believe it meets the standards. The largest variance is 36 feet on this. They eliminated the clearing variance and gave us this additional buffer. And I think this is a good project. So I am going to approve it, and prove it meets the standards.
Thank you, Ed.
Yeah, I think I'm going to state right away, I'm going to approve the project for many of the same reasons that were stated by Member Berger. I think that these small lots that we find around Montauk that are basically wet or so close to wetlands are difficult ones to build on. If someone has an application in to build a house, we have to continually ask how large, where do you locate it, what can we offer, what kind of buffers, and I think that it was just stated pretty clearly by Member Berger that a lot of those concerns were addressed both initially and then as a follow-up by the applicant in this case. The size of the house is an influence in my decision. I think that the fact that they did come back and put the additional buffer, the IA system would have been something that would have come with the new house anyway, but this project and what we see going on here, I understand the concerns of the neighbors, but everybody on a buildable lot has an opportunity to develop it if the town does not step in and buy it from them. And in this case, they've come up with, I think, a very acceptable proposal. As I said, the size of the house, the location of the house, and how they've gone about the whole project, I think makes it acceptable. So I have no problem without repeating any more of what was already said by Member Berger. I'm going to approve this project.
Thank you. Bill?
Yeah, I'm going to approve this project and echo what everyone else said. And note that in the TAM, it said, overall, the project appears to be in keeping with the moderate-sized homes on a concise footprint. And for the most part, it seems to be in keeping with the neighborhood and past practices of the board for construction on unimproved parcels. So I'm inclined to approve it.
Thank you. Denise?
I agree with everyone. Obviously, they've eliminated the clearing variances. This is a very modest-sized residence with a minimal footprint. The project appears to be in keeping with the neighborhood. I'm very pleased to see that as noted in the TAM, the residence also appears to have been designed so as not to require a pyramid variance, especially along the northern property line. The project is proposing a residence with a 988 footprint and a total lot coverage of 2,436 square feet. Total clearing is proposed to be 8,017 square feet, where 10,940 square feet is the maximum allowable. There's no regrading appears to be proposed for the project. I think they've done everything to make this a very agreeable application, and for all the reasons stated already, I'm approving the natural resource special permit and variances because they meet the standards for both of those things.
Thank you. I agree, and I don't really have anything else to add. Good application. Thanks.
Very good application.
Next, we have Evan Chesler at 397 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-88-1-11.1. Size and location is 50,438 square feet at 396 Old Montauk Highway, Hither Hills, Lot 208, map 496, Montauk. Description is to allow a 363 square foot pool patio, 380 square foot slate patio, approximately 320 square foot of walkways, and a barbecue and a brick patio to remain on parcel of land containing bluffs and tidal wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 3 variances are required for this application. Variances of 30 feet, 16 feet, and 10 feet are required from 255-440 of the Town Code. To allow the brick area to remain 95 feet, barbecue to remain 109 feet, and slate patio to remain 115 feet from the toe of the bluff where 125-foot setbacks are required. Area zoning district is A residence, zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And this
This was mine.
go for it.
Okay. Right, the hearing date on this one was October 17th of 2023. Again, the agent was Joel Halsey. The survey that we used for this is dated October 27th of 22. Received November 2nd of 2022. This is, we had received on October 11th, we had received a letter from Lighthouse Land Planning explaining the brick area and the barbecue, that these were on the property and go back in time before there were permits and things required for brick and sand patio, which is one of the variances, required a 30-foot variance from the toe bluff. And the barbecue, which you can see in the photos, was a big stone, well-constructed barbecue just north of the brick patio, the brick area, and certainly not a mobile thing. And then the slate patio on the opposite side of the property that had on the northeast side, needs a 10-foot variance from the toe of the bluff. And that happened, the slate patio was redone when pool was constructed, I believe, and they basically squared off the bottom corner of the slate patio that was already in existence and encroached on that toe of the bluff setback by the 10 feet. All of these were minimal variances, and as far as the NRSP, none of them have any real impact on the natural resource conditions and any detriment that could happen to the toe of the bluff. There's small variances, they're de minimis, and I think I'm going to approve the variances. They're not large. I think they don't have any other impact in neighboring properties. This is a very lovely house, very well-maintained house, and I'm going to approve this project in its entirety.
Yeah, I'm going to state right away, too, again, that I'm going to approve the project. There's really not a lot to add. As you say, there are minimum variances. The project, the parcel as it exists now and the work that's been done, this is a location and a house and a residence there that's had work done fairly continually. There's been work that's happened, and we see that that's been successfully done, and I like the way in which everything looks like it's continually been maintained. We look at the requests that we had, as was stated by Member Berger, they're all minimal requests, and I don't really have much to add to it, because I do think when you visit the site like that and you see what they were, there wasn't anything there that was jarring, anything there that we thought was going to cause any kind of environmental damage, and I didn't think any of the requests were unreasonable, or they hadn't been presented in a way in which it was easy for me to just review it, but then to come to an agreement to approve it as it exists. So I'm willing to approve this application in its entirety.
Thank you.
I agree with members Berger and Johan. And the TAM basically said that these are minor. And I did learn a little bit about sand and brick, and that you can run a lawnmower over it. It doesn't count. It's new. So for those reasons, I'm going to approve it.
Thank you.
I agree with my fellow board members. All of the structures we're talking about are minor additions to the property. These structures will have no or minimal impacts on runoff or the surrounding natural features. So for these reasons, I feel the application is in compliance with the variance standards of 255-850 and the NRSP standards of 255-551 of the town code, and I am approving this application.
Thank you. I agree. I have nothing else to add. We have Brad James Ford at 11 Harbor Hill Lane, Springs, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-83-6-7.2. Size and location is 40,133 square feet. 11 Harbor Hill Lane in Springs. Description is to remove existing decking and the existing driveway and to construct a 194 square foot first floor addition, 206 square foot screen porch, replace approximately 1,200 square foot of decking with stone terrace, trellis, a new basement entry, driveway, walkway, and an upgraded IA sanitary system on a parcel of land containing freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town, and 6 variances are required for this application. Variances of 70.3 feet, 58.7 feet, 57.3 feet, 52.5 feet, 24 feet, and 18.5 feet are required. From 255-430 of the Town Code to construct a proposed walkway 29.7 feet, stone patio 41.3 feet, screen porch 42.7 feet, addition approximately 47.5 feet, trellis 76 feet, and a basement entryway 81.5 feet respectively from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A residence zone, X flood zone, and secret class is type 2. And this is in member Savarese.
Okay, just give me one sec. This hearing was held on October 17th. I'm sorry, yes, October 17th. And the agent was Britton Bistrian, and Tyler Borsak already also spoke on behalf of the application. The property is improved with a 2-story residence with decking, walkways, driveways, sanitary system, and associated structures. The survey we are referencing is Timothy Taylor, East End Land Surveying. I have a date of February 8th, 2023. Plans were submitted by, I want to get the name of the architects. James Merrill has submitted a set of, well, existing photos, area calcs, and pyramid, data received November 22nd. I'd like these all referenced in the decision. The basement foundation plan, the existing and proposed first floor plan, the second floor and roof plan, north and east elevations, south and west elevations, building sections, drainage site plan was also submitted, and a septic site plan. So those are the documents that go with the decision and what was referenced. The additions are, in my opinion, minor and one story. The scope of the project is minimal, and the end result is less total coverage than existing. They're improving with the septic system and revegetation. Improvements are minimal, changes, no structures are any closer to the wetland than existing improvements. The two additions are adding minimum GFA. GFA will go from 2,566 square feet to a proposed 2,760 square feet. The mudroom addition is over an already existing deck location. The proposed screened porch is located over existing decking, adding some very minimal adding to the footprint. The proposed small southern addition and trellis are located over the new stone patio, which was previously decking. The basement entry with steps now is a minor change, since the cellar entrance hasn't really changed. They're simply removing the Bilko door. They're adding steps, which will have little to no impact on the wetlands. The biggest change is the, there we go. The biggest change is the driveway. And the proposed driveway is still relatively close to the wetland, but remains a large portion that currently extends right up to and against the wetland boundary. The driveway, however, results in a reduction on total lot coverage from 5,467 square feet to 4,032 square feet, which will be a significant reduction in runoff. And of course, they are updating to an IA sanitary system, which is always a benefit. I am going to approve this application in its entirety. I think that a condition of approval should be a more detailed revegetation plan that covers the scenic easement areas that were cleared. And they should be revegetated, obviously, to benefit the wetlands. I also think the portion of the driveway that is being removed along the western side of the property should also be revegetated to protect the wetlands. I'd like to see another condition of approval that provides protection of the wetland during construction through silt fencing and hay bales. In conclusion, I feel this application is in keeping with the standards outlined in 255-850, NRSP standards outlined in 255-551, preservation of natural resources, alternative uses, they do not exist, alternative designs. I think the applicant has gone to an extensive effort, and it's admirable to see them work so hard with us to be in compliance with the town code. I also feel they're in compliance with 255-540 standards, compatibility and environmental protection, and for these reasons, I'm approving this application in its entirety.
Thank you. Terry?
Okay. All right, Denise summed it up nicely. All these structures are, as they mostly going over the areas stated, as far as the mudroom, I believe was, currently is an outdoor shower with some room, so as Britton put it, they're repurposing that into a screened porch. The existing deck they're replacing with stone, and I have one concern about that in that the stone is impervious, and it seemed that the planner was not that concerned about the runoff being stone versus the wood decking. And I'm a little leery about that, but I will go ahead and approve that also. And the screen porch, as Member Savarese mentioned, all these things are over previously used items already, and the basement, as mentioned, was replacing a Bilko door, just replacing with the steps. So I too am looking to approve this application. I think decreasing the size of the driveway by about 75%, I believe it was, is a huge item. And the offering of the IA system is also big. And as Member Savarese said, I know at the hearing, the planner recommended that instead of letting areas to be reclaimed naturally, that the planning department does prefer a revegetation plan with plants appropriate to that area. We have a little plan that was here from November 22nd, 2022, but I
that.
believe that's out of date.
I think it
and
is,
requires
too.
an update, so,
I think it should be more detailed than that.
yeah, I mean, they're
Well,
listed
it's
plants,
not
but,
naturally reclaimed.
Right.
well, right, and they're not going to be naturally reclaimed. Now we're asking for a revegetation plan for those areas based on the hearing. So I too am looking to approve this. I think there will be no detriment to the wetlands, and the decrease in the size of the driveway is an improvement in environmental conditions there also. So I too am approving this
you.
project as a whole.
Yeah, there's not a lot to add. Member Savarese covered it very well. I think it's a solid application. I think you come forward with ideas to improve the parcel, and if you can put your additions over areas that have been previously disturbed or had other usage, this is certainly a plus from our point of view. I think the elimination, the addition of the septic, the elimination of a portion of the driveway, the revegetation has been specified now by two board members, should be a re-veg rather than a grow in naturally, and we would require that. I think it's a solid application. I think people came forward with a good idea, and they worked within the kind of limitations that we throw out at most of the applicants when they come to us. And I think that they did the work ahead of time on this one for us, and I think it's an easy approval for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I have nothing to add except to emphasize that we want a revegetation plan. It's a condition of approval.
Thank you. I agree. I have nothing else to add. Thank you. Other decisions, we have a Jello at 19 Fenwick and 13 Fairview. Montauk? What's that?
I'm sorry, I lost my,
No, we're not. They're putting it off. They had not, the request to
I don't know what's
go
going on.
to the opposing attorney with new information, the potential of new information has not gone out yet. So there's going to be a meeting next week.
A meeting.
With Rob
With
and
counsel and the attorney.
And the,
So we're not going to be making a decision on
not
this?
tonight.
Not tonight.
Not tonight.
I was ready for it too.
Slog through all those cases.
So anyway, so Jello is a revegetation plan submitted at July 2023. Morgan, you want to take us through it?
Yeah, sure. So the board approved the merging of two adjoining properties and allowed a shed, pond, some masonry structures, and gate to remain within 100 feet of wetlands. Conditions of that approval include establishing a scenic easement and implementing a re-veg plan to establish a buffer to the wetland.
Oh, I remember.
The re-veg plan submitted is not consistent with what the planning department typically recommends for revegetation. It proposes some woody species, but a majority is clusters of herbaceous perennials, which is more characteristic of landscaping rather than a re-veg, and would ultimately end up requiring some maintenance when a scenic easement is supposed to be a self-sustaining plant community, which can best be achieved with native shrub species found near wetlands. And we typically recommend shrub species like bayberry, inkberry, sweet pepperbush, and black chokeberry.
Are you done? You talk too quickly.
Yeah, so I'll basically, majority of this re-veg plan is herbaceous perennials. And the planning department is of the opinion that something that is majority herbaceous perennials would require some maintenance, weeding or, just not pruning any, just so that way to prevent any invasives from overtaking them. Whereas if it was more resilient shrubs like we typically
And this is in
recommend.
the easement.
Yes, and this is in the easement.
It's in a proposed easement.
It's a 3,000 square foot proposed scenic easement, which was a condition of the
There should
approval.
be a letter from me submitted to the file with regards to this. I don't know if you've seen it.
Right here.
Can you read the letter, or?
There should have been a follow-up letter, longer than that.
I think it's in the file.
I'll just.
So what are they asking for?
Well, I think the planning, from what I understand, in our pre-meeting, the planning department has issues with this planting plan based on what and maybe Morgan, tell me if I'm right or wrong, that it's more of an ornamental nature than it is a natural vegetation type that
definitely
you're
is.
looking for. But that's the concern that I think the planning board had.
Oh, okay.
I think you guys need to see the letter I submitted. Hopefully you have it.
Yeah.
So
we
should
have
we
the-
table this until we see?
I haven't seen the letter. I'd like to see.
So
the
maybe we
letter.
should table this till we read the letter.
It was submitted on,
I apologize.
November 3rd.
yeah, November 3rd.
Yeah, I have it here, November 3rd.
I haven't seen it. It must be my
think I
fault.
have a copy of it, or maybe I didn't think it was on for today.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not against tabling it.
You want to table it?
I'd like to.
Okay, then let's
I mean,
table it and take a
Joel
look at
submitted
it.
a letter. I'd like to read it.
Yeah, this is kind of fresh to us, so it's like, I mean, when you, it's fresh to us, it's fresh information that we haven't absorbed yet.
I mean, I get the
need
basic
to
point.
do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Huh?
Thanks for coming in, Joel.
Oh, I have to read Joel's letter.
Okay.
I must have missed that.
Next, we have
I don't see, it's,
Drucker, building permits, certificate of occupancies. We have Drucker and McCombs at 260 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 387-3-2.2, and it's a CO inspection request. Morgan?
So this is a CO request for a 2006 determination that approved a 5,300 square foot residence with swimming pool, decking, sunroom, and sanitary system. The planning department inspected the property and is satisfied with the revegetation that was required prior to the issuance of the CO. The clearing actually ended up being about 3,200 square feet less than the approved clearing. However, the total coverage, the building coverage is 369 square feet above what was approved on the survey. And the total coverage is 493 square feet above what was approved on the survey. However, it appears consistent with the board's approval as far as the structures and their locations. The planning department has no concerns or environmental objections to the as-built conditions on the property, but since it was an application that went to a hearing, we wanted to, point it out to the board in order for it to get the CO and if the board has any objections.
And again, in our pre-meeting, Brian was addressing this, and he felt that the re-veg actually was done perfectly. It was even done probably even a little bit more than we expected. He was extremely impressed with the revegetation on the property and felt that the small increase in the footprint did not have an
Offset it,
impact. So he felt that it was ready for approval. Just wanted to throw
and
that
that's
out.
an as-built survey that you're showing us?
Yes, yeah,
So that's the new survey that'll be on the C of O?
correct. This is what would be associated with the CO.
If you remember, this is the lot that was next to Tourmaline, right?
Yeah.
This is the approved survey.
Yeah, finally finished.
20 years.
Been going on a couple of years.
This is the survey that would be associated with the CO. October 11th.
So, any
Okay.
questions?
No, the
No,
building,
I'm okay
the
with
I
planning
think it makes
department.
sense. Do we
I'm
need a
okay with
motion
it.
on
Do we
that?
have to
So,
do anything? Oh, okay.
do we need a motion on that? I guess maybe it doesn't hurt to make a motion on that.
You need a
Yeah,
motion?
just make a motion.
You have it in front of you, just I don't.
I'll do it. What? I'll do it if you want. Drucker and McCombs, 260 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-87-3-2.2. Make a motion to approve the CO, to proceed with the CO as inspected.
Second?
Concur. Denise got the second.
Now we go to extension of time. We have Ingrao, 402 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-22-1-5, determination dated July 14, 2005, but it was modified by resolution dated July 18, 2018. And this is a extension of time. So this, because it was modified in 2018, I kind of
10
feel
years
it's
starts over again?
brought it up to date a little bit,
What?
We did vet it out
We did.
we did vet it out
Has
pretty
anything
good.
changed since 2018? Did
I don't
planner
think
say
so.
anything?
There's been work, we know the project, there's been work on the project, but I talked to Brian earlier today about this because we had another concern about whether there was a request to see that project limited fencing was in place and safety fencing was in place, and I happened to be juxtaposed to it, so I went over and took some photos that I'm going to give to Brian for the record, showing that the project limiting fence is in place and that it looks as if that is a dramatic difference from, I would say, 6 or 8 weeks ago when it was wide open and it didn't look like that at all. So Brian had requested, and I'm just repeating what he told me here, Brian requested that all be in place before the extension moved forward. And I was able to go over today, take some
Great.
photos
So
and
it is in
confirm that.
place? Okay,
Yeah.
so to make the motion.
Need a motion?
Oh, do you want me to make the motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so for Ingrao at 402 Old Montauk Highway, Montauk, tax map 300-22-1-5, make a motion to approve the extension of time.
I'll second it.
Concur.
First, well, thank you. We have the draft minutes of October 24th, 2023.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes from October 24th, 2023 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
I'll second it.
Concur.
I concur. Thank you. We'll move on to resolutions. The first one is Lisa Leventon at 3 Squires Path, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-157-3-17. If you remember, board members, this was a small encroachment on a corner of a house relative to the property line that was approved unanimously. If
Was
you
it
don't
the
mind.
pie-shaped property?
Yeah, it was a square-shaped property, but the house was skewed
Oh,
on the
right,
property.
right.
Ended up being just a small
Right.
piece of the property, very de minimis. It was a de minimis request. So therefore, I make a motion in the application of Lisa Leviton, 3 Squires Path, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-157-3-17 to approve the determination as written.
Second?
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you. Second, we have Manum East Hampton LLC at 64 Beach Lane, Waynscott, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-200-2-16. And if you remember, this was a request to place a pool outside the side yard lot, the pool lot line due to a request for common ownership. The application was denied 4-1. And so I make a motion in Manum East Hampton LLC, 64 Beach Lane, Waynscott, at Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-200-2-16 to approve the determination as written.
I'll second it.
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you. We have Irving Fain at 73 Surfside Avenue at Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-51-2-10. Who had this?
I had this one.
Can you just give us a brief?
Yeah, okay, well, if you remember this, there was the main residence was being reconstructed, but this application was for the swimming pool and the NRSP. And natural resources permit no variances for it. And this ended up being a mixed decision, I believe, approval Concurring on the decision was the chair, the vice chair, and member McGivern, and dissenting was myself and member Savarese. And for this resolution, I make a motion to approve the resolution as written for Irving Fain at 73 Surfside Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-051-02-10.
I second.
Concur.
Concur.
I concur, thank you.
Do you want me to do the next one? Rosante?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm looking for that.
Adam Rosante at 121 Mulford Lane, Amagansett. You'll recall this involved a shed that was right up against the property line.
Accessory to.
And a substantial structure that was next to the property line, an air conditioning unit and a hot tub. The majority of the board approved the hot tub variance, which were side yard lot variances in the AC unit, and we collectively denied the accessory structure and the shed bin structure.
This is the original.
Make a motion.
In the matter of Adam Rosante, 121 Mulford Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-106-02-04, I make a motion to adopt the resolution as written.
I'll
Second.
I
I
concur.
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 There's an amendment on that.
Next, we have Chris Poley at 54 Firestone Road in Montauk, Suffolk Tax number 300-17-2-34.1. Ed, I think this is yours? No. No, it's Terry's?
mine.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, if you recall, this was a residence over just north or west, east of the Montauk, and there was a small residence there, and this was a project to remove that small residence, move it 75 feet landward, and then create an addition and a larger residence. This was a unanimous approval by the board. And there was some corrections that are submitted. There was one left. Did you see the
I did see them.
change? The second change?
They
Just with
did
the
forward
survey
them
date.
with the previous decision, they sent the changes. Contiguous.
Yeah, I made the
there was
change.
Typo.
You got the final change too? Okay, all right. So in the matter of Chris Poley at 54 Firestone Road, Montauk, tax map 300-017-02-34.1, and make a motion to approve the resolution as written.
I'll second it.
Concur.
Concur.
I concur, thank you.
I'll do the next one. Laura Mackall, 52 Private Road, Amagansett. This was a project that is in Napeak Bay. It's a beautiful house, and they had just received a CO, but they needed a variance for a propane tank and a generator. And as they put in a new IA system, they needed the generator to make sure the IA system continued, because the Napeag area is prone to electrical outages, for lack of a better description. They did a very good job with revegetating, and I believe that the propane and the generator were going to go in an area that's already been disturbed, but they were going to revegetate those areas. So in the matter of Laura McCall, 52 Private Road, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-109-01-08, I make a motion to adopt the resolution as written.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
Concur, thank you. Next is Jennifer Redmond at 17 South Breeze Drive, Lot 4, Wainscott Hill, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-156-1-6.4. If you remember, this is a swimming pool setback in the backyard. It was a sloping property. That back is a very heavily wooded area. We found that the request was de minimis. It was unanimous, and therefore I make a motion in the matter of Jennifer Redmond at 17 South Breeze Drive, Lot 4, Wainscott Hills, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-156-1-6.4, to approve the determination as written.
I'll second.
Concur.
Concur.
Thank you.
In the matter of Ruth Lazarus and Michael Feldberg at 196 Marine Boulevard in Amagansett, you'll recall that this was a proposal to completely, demolish the existing somewhat traditional house and replace it with a modern house. The majority of the board felt that it was too aggressive a proposal for this area of the dunes, as we call it, and denied it 3-2. Do you need any more refreshment, or you're good? Okay. So in the matter of Ruth Lazarus and Michael Feldberg, 196 Marine Boulevard, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-176-2-7, I make a motion to adopt the resolution as written.
Second.
Go ahead. I concur.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you.
This was my
It's
little
that
cheat
time,
sheet.
Vice Chair.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to close the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals work session for November 14th, 2023 at 8:40 PM.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
I concur. Thank you, and have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, have a wonderful trip.